Russia's glide bombs devastating Ukraine's cities on the cheap. Russia is increasingly using glide bombs, cheap but highly destructive ordnance, to advance its offensive in Ukraine. More than 200 of them are thought to have been used in just a week to pound Ukraine's northern town of Vovchansk during Russia's current cross-border advance near Kharkiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky said 3,000 such bombs were dropped on the country in March alone. Vovchansk police chief Oleksiy Kharkivsky has seen the impact of glide bombs up close. There are no words to describe the aftermath of a glide bomb attack, he says. You arrive to see people who are lying there, torn apart. The mass use of glide bombs by Russia is a relatively recent development, one that has proven devastating for Ukrainian forces in recent months. Glide bombs are built by adding fold-out wings and satellite navigation to old Soviet bombs. They are cheap but destructive. A recent report by the Center for European Policy Analysis, CEPA, said they were decisive in February's capture of the once heavily fortified key eastern town of Avdiivka. Russian forces are now using glide bombs to attack the northern city of Kharkiv. Ukraine has so far struggled to counter them. The Vovchansk police chief has been helping to evacuate frontline border villages in the Kharkiv region, where Russian forces have recently been advancing. Parked up in his police car, he tells us the scale of attacks has increased dramatically. Over the past 6 months, we were hit by glide bombs quite often, maybe 5 to 10 bombs per week, but this month we've had far more than ever, he said. Russia is able to stockpile glide bombs in high quantities because they are quite easily produced. The explosive part is essentially a conventional freefall iron bomb, of which Russia has hundreds of thousands in storage from the Soviet period, says Professor Justin Bronk, air power and military technology specialist at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI. They are fitted with pop-out wings which, after the bomb is dropped, will flick out to allow it to glide much longer distances. Their attached satellite guidance system allows targeting of a stationary position with relatively high accuracy. According to Professor Bronk, the mechanism of the bombs gives the Russians much of the functionality of a multi-million-dollar missile, but for a fraction of the cost. He says that glide kits, which are mass-produced and pretty mechanically simple, are added to Soviet bombs, of which the Russians have a plentiful supply, meaning the cost per weapon can be somewhere in the region of $20,000 to $30,000, $15,700 to £23,600. The concept is not new. The Germans deployed the Fritz X during World War II. In the 1990s, the US military developed the Joint Attack Direct Munition, or JDM, which added steerable tail fins and GPS guidance to traditional freefall bombs. They have been used extensively since, including in Iraq and Afghanistan. The destruction that the glide bombs create is extraordinary. The ordnance thought to be most commonly used for glide bombs is the FAB 1500, which weighs 1.5 tons. For comparison, a Russian 152mm shell contains about 6.5 kilograms of explosive material. Even the smallest glide bomb, the FAB 500, contains more than 200 kilograms. They turn even well-fortified Ukrainian positions into vulnerable targets. Because glide bombs create far greater explosive power, they are more likely to cause cave-ins or fatalities even in quite well-fortified positions, Professor Bronk explains. The powerful blasts also have severe effects on the human body. Glide bombs are making Ukraine's defensive strategy more difficult because the Russians can just continually bombard fixed positions until they're gone, Professor Bronk says. Ukrainian security analyst Maria Zalkina tells the BBC that the use of glide bombs is a worrying development, and that the bombs are creating a new era for the military situation on the ground. They allow Russia to wipe out Ukrainian defensive lines without using their infantry, Ms. Zalkina says. They have a completely different effect to artillery fire or even missile strikes. George Barros from the US-based Institute for the Study of War, ISW, says that while Ukraine's situation is difficult, another worrying development could be just around the corner. He notes there is evidence that a factory about 400 kilometers, 250 miles, east of Moscow is setting up a production line capable of churning out glide bombs weighing more than 3 tons. If glide bombs of that size were to start being routinely dropped on Ukrainian positions, the impact would be vast, both on fortifications and the morale of the people trying to hold them.